Welcome to episode 3. Here we are in Sean's apartment, which is a really awesome apartment that we were able to get.
Yeah. Our friend Scott Lowe. I live in Glendale, California. He lives in the same city here, and he has this really cool, like, New York East Coast style loft apartment, which is pretty rare in this area. So we thought, oh, this is a great place for Sean to live because it's just so interesting. It feels like the kind of I think his character would want to be in an eclectic space that inspires him, and I think he probably spends a lot of time at home.
It's very nice of Scott to let us completely change the layout of his apartment and move all of his front room stuff into his bedroom and his bedroom into his front room, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of rearranging.
I really like this scene because I feel like this is one of the most heavy on actually showing the lucid dreaming experience, trying to show what it feels like to kind of fall into REM sleep and then feel like you're maybe kind of leaving your body, that you almost now have a dream body that's separate from your physical body. And then this is a really complicated visual effect that you did, Michael, that I really love how it turned out because it has a lot of really subtle touches and is very smooth and elegant.
Yeah, I like where we ended up with sort of portraying the dream teleportation process of it being sort of like a quiet, soft change.
Yeah, because I don't think dream transitions aren't whiz bang moments generally.
Yeah.
I think it's much more soft and fluid than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you watch the music featurette, you kind of hear the story behind this opening theme for each episode. There's just these two notes put in the piano. But that actually came out of a music cue from episode 4. And we heard it. It's from a scene with Noah. And we thought, hey, that kind of captures just the right tone somehow, those two notes. And so we reappropriated it for the theme, and it really works, I think.
And wasn't it in the temp music that he had done? Because Brian, before we even started filming and editing, he sort of went off and like composed a few different things to try out. And I feel like one of them
had those two notes
in it.
Oh, I don't know. It's been a lot of iterations of all the music, so it's hard to keep track of what was what. There's something really subtle in the previous moment where I think this is your idea, Michael, where Noah turns around and in the background all the tables are kind of in their normal arrangement, and then when he turns back and sees this site, these tables are now been like arranged into almost like a funeral procession with flowers. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if anybody ever notices that, but I really like that is in the background there.
I had forgotten that.
Yeah, I remembered it recently.
That's so funny. It was fun doing these like match shots of like zooming on the door in the restaurant, and then that cutting to the door in his house, and then in a previous episode, how he spins around when he's outside, and on the spin it cuts to him spinning into the restaurant. I like when match cuts can bridge between two places in a fun way.
I like how creepy Kincaid, who plays Nina, gets at this point. Mm-hmm. I feel like at this point she crosses the line into total Stepford wife.
Yeah.
This shot I think we kind of added in. I think this is just a general B-roll shot we got of the beach, but I think we wanted to just kind of reestablish that kind of iconic location as being one, a thing that Sean has in his mind for when he sees it later on that scrap of paper, but two, just to show that these dream worlds are all connected. Mm-hmm. And so when we're tilting up and seeing kind of the stars appearing in the sky, that's also happening wherever they're sitting. Mm-hmm. And that these people's dreams are kind of interpenetrating each other's.
Mm-hmm. I remember arriving at the final version of the music for this scene took a long time, because I think I had a very specific picture in my mind of what it should sound like, and that it wasn't lining up with what you and Brian were thinking about. I just remember there being a lot of
this is one of the co-director
conflict
disagreements. Yeah, I think.
But I like where it ended up a lot.
I think a lot of the challenge with music sometimes in these kind of scenes are, it needs music in the background to support it, and to kind of carry you through the scene, but it needs to not be distracting either. It can't be this really busy melody that takes you away from what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I think where we ended up was a really nice kind of sparse but like smooth backdrop for the scene. But it wasn't like a really complicated, busy melody, which I think at one point it might have been, and we found ourselves being distracted.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like, again, just like the simple scenes between two characters. I feel like a lot of my romantic pining that I've done in my life went into Sean, and especially around the time that we were writing the episodes, there was
You were pining.
I was very much pining.
I really like Mallory's performances. She had a really tough job with Hannah where she had to, in the real world, she's going through maybe the toughest time in her life, which is mourning the death of her longtime boyfriend, but then figuring out how to still be the same character somehow, but a version that's in the dream world who is not lucid, so she's not really thinking about her daily life. It's a very complicated challenge. It's like this has to be the same character, but completely different mind space, completely different behavior, and kind of like spacey in a way, because one of our goals was to show the difference between being lucid in a dream and not being lucid. And I think even Vera here, I think there's a degree of kind of spaciness that you see in her where she is kind of taking in her surroundings, but she's not really present. She's not lucid.
Yeah.
She's kind of just passively taking it in.
Yeah, there's a lot of very small nuances that they had to portray, and they did a really good job at.
One thing I've said before is that the show in general, I think, especially if we have to keep making it the long-term arc for all the characters and the story, is the idea of starting off in a place where pretty much nobody's lucid to all the characters slowly becoming lucid and waking up, quote unquote, in various ways. So I think that in these first 5 episodes, really it's just Sean who's lucid the whole time. Noah's kind of becoming lucid throughout, and it's really only the only other person who kind of gets there is Hannah, but only at the very, very end.
At the very end.
Yeah, so the characters have a long ways to go as far as really becoming lucid in the dream world.
I think this is the longest single scene in the series. I remember it was the longest on paper anyway.
Yeah, it was very fun shooting with Nathan and Deborah, because I think they got a good rapport going on.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was really fun to pit Vera against this authority figure who she pretty much despises just on principle. And I like the way that we found we realized we had to find a way in the writing for her to even invite this guy in, because I think Vera, if she had a choice, would not. But when she sees that there's something to potentially gain here, when she sees his key card, then that gave us an actual objective for her in this scene. And pretty much the whole time she's working on stealing his key card.
Yeah.
While essentially just holding him at bay by answering his questions.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was fun in the blocking to figure out, like, to give her things to be doing. So, like, she goes over to this computer and it's, like, setting up her device to steal the key card, but then she needs to take it to her other computer across the room, and that actually, like, charges up the device and blah, blah, blah. Basically just giving her reasons to move around and have the camera change positions, so visually things are changing during this long dialogue scene. And that was really fun. I like any time we're in Vera's little cocoon cave world, because it's very different from the other environments in the show, and I like that we get to mix it up. And her character is just fun also.
Yeah, I think as far as their occupations, Sean and Hannah have pretty vanilla jobs, so
Yeah.
it's fun to have a character who is a work from home, potentially illegal hacker person.
Black hat hacker.
Yeah. And if we make more episodes, we definitely will pay off what just happened there with the keycard scanning, because that is something that we put there intentionally.
Yeah. So this scene is fun because I think this is sort of the scene that really kicks off the momentum to the finale. I feel like these first 3 episodes are a lot of setting up the story, who the characters are, what they have going on, and then in the scene when Sean finds the picture of the beach that he saw in the dream and learns that the person who worked at his job before was named Noah, he starts to put all these, connect all the dots and realize that something strange is going on. There's some bleed over from his dreams and reality.
And on top of that, Spaulding's acting pretty weird.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I feel like Sean's having to process a lot in the scene, because it's like, so things I've seen in my dream, including a person named Noah and this beach, also seem to exist in my waking life, and my boss, who seems to know about those things, is acting real weird about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm actually really curious if, once again in season 2, if we get to make that where Sean and Spaulding go, because I'm pretty sure at this point, and definitely by the end of episode 5, Sean does not trust Spaulding and is kind of getting freaked out by what's going on.
Yeah. He knows there's something more happening. It's fun making that little magazine rip-out picture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Our idea was actually thinking about a backstory for that. Was that Noah, when he worked there for Dr. Spaulding, we kind of always thought of Noah as a kind of a sad character who didn't really get to live out his dreams the way he wanted to, and so that magazine rip-out was kind of like, oh, this is a place I want to visit someday, and that's kind of the backstory of that magazine rip-out, where he naturally ends up going in his dream.
Which we'll learn more about in episode 4.